yesterday they're signing former first-round pick Josh Rosen here, but he worked out for the Cleveland Browns earlier this morning, and ultimately the Browns chose Rosen as of now if Deshaun Watson is suspended.
So you remember yesterday when I told you guys that the Cleveland Browns had two people that they were looking into as potential Deshaun Watson replacements? Well, none of those players ended up signing with the Cleveland Browns or getting traded to the Cleveland Browns. As a matter of fact, the individual that they ended up signing was a little surprising. So before we get to the content, man, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you want to join my fantasy football league, make sure you follow me on Twitter because we're only doing it with our Twitter followers. And now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So yesterday I appeared to you guys and told you that there was the chance that Deshaun Watson might get suspended for about 8 games. That's at least what many of us are assuming. So in the event that does happen, the Cleveland Browns needed a contingency plan. I mean, look, no offense to Jacoby Brissett, but we've seen what happens when you give Jacoby Brissett a championship caliber team to potentially play for a majority of the season. Jacoby Brissett had that opportunity once Andrew Luck retired. So the Cleveland Browns were in a tough situation. They actually had a great player that would have fit in this role perfectly in Baker Mayfield, but they alienated Baker Mayfield and there was no way that they were able to retain his services. So they had to trade him for literally pennies on the dollar to the Carolina Panthers. So what do the Cleveland Browns do in this case? Well, yesterday I said that there were two options. One was trading for Jimmy Garoppolo, and I felt like that was something that made a lot of sense. But then there were questions about what if Jimmy can't stay healthy again? That would really stink for the Cleveland Browns. Then they're back to square one, and then they're depending on Jacoby Brissett again, which, no offense, I don't think Jacoby Brissett's really throwing like 40-yard bombs to Amari Cooper. So that brought in the next potential candidate. The Cleveland Browns were reportedly interested in Cam Newton. Now, no offense to Cam Newton, but that didn't really make a lot of sense either. Cam Newton's primary complaint about his lack of success, and the reason for his lack of success, was the fact that, well, when the New England Patriots signed him, they didn't really give him a lot of time to learn the playbook, and they just kind of threw him into the fire. And as a result, Cam Newton did have a good year in terms of completion percentage, but he threw more interceptions than touchdowns, and he clearly didn't look like the old Cam Newton. And the year after, we saw the very same thing in his return to Carolina. He was signed in the middle of the season when Sam Darnold was injured, and that didn't work out either. There wasn't a single game that Cam Newton was able to win as a member of the Carolina Panthers. And today we heard that the Cleveland Browns weren't interested in Cam Newton. So who does that leave? Well, we heard news earlier today that the Cleveland Browns were working out AJ McCarron and Josh Rosen, which these two names will take you all the way back to like the mid 2010s. AJ McCarron is most notorious for his time with the Alabama Crimson Tide and being their quarterback during a few championship runs. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL while playing for the Atlanta Falcons last year, and throughout his entire career, he only had the opportunity to start 3 times when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals before being a journeyman quarterback with the Las Vegas Raiders and the Houston Texans. He started 1 game in Houston. Josh Rosen's situation is one that honestly bothers me in the sense that, 1, I'm Jewish, and with all due respect, man, there's not a lot of Jewish people in the NFL. And 2, he went to my alma mater, UCLA, and he was a top 10 draft pick. And coming out of the draft, he was an incredibly polished product. I mean, he was as can't miss could be. There wasn't really much of a flaw with his game. I was shocked that Sam Darnold was selected over him. And if you're a Josh Rosen fan, you fall into one of two camps. Either you fall into the camp that this man never really got the opportunity to succeed. He had Steve Wilkes as his head coach in year 1, but the Cardinals were so freaking bad that after 1 year, they decided to move on from Josh Rosen and draft Kyler Murray with the number 1 overall pick. It's ironic that in the same day you're hearing Kyler Murray getting a contract extension while Josh Rosen is signing with a brand new team. But in that year, Josh Rosen just looked horrific. He had a 55% completion percentage, threw for 11 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, had a QBR of a 24.1 in his 13 games that he played. Now, at the same time, it wasn't necessarily the best situation for him. The Cardinals would trade him to the Miami Dolphins and get a second-round pick, which in hindsight's a steal for him. And when he had his opportunity with the Dolphins, it just didn't seem to materialize for him. I mean, the Miami Dolphins tried to put him out there a couple of times, and it just didn't seem like a good situation for him either. Now, granted, the Dolphins of 2019 were very similar to the Cardinals of 2018. They weren't necessarily known for having a lot of weapons or a great offensive line for Josh Rosen either, and they ended up finishing 5-11. Following that, Josh Rosen would leave the Miami Dolphins, and then he would sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad, which is a golden opportunity because you get to watch Tom Brady prepare and practice and maybe get some advice from him. And there's actually pictures of Josh Rosen and Tom Brady in Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice. Following that, he had a short stint with the San Francisco 49ers that didn't really work out for him either before he signed on with the Atlanta Falcons. With the Atlanta Falcons, he had his most meme-worthy season because this man had 11 passing attempts. 2 of them were interceptions. 2 of them were completed for 19 yards. That is really freaking bad. And it seems like the Cleveland Browns didn't really have anywhere to turn at this point. Josh Rosen is now headed to a brand new spot. This is his 6th spot if you count the time on the practice squad with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or it's his 5th spot if you want to count official teams. So according to Adam Schefter, Cleveland is signing former first rounder Josh Rosen to a 1-year deal per sources. Despite spending time with 5 other teams, Josh Rosen is only 25 years old, and those who have been around him believe he is ready to prove he belongs. I don't want to bag on Schefter here because we've seen some really bad Schefter tweets in the past, but I can just tell like Schefter was looking over this tweet over and over again. He's like,
don't say something fucked up. Don't say something messed up.
And if you look at other tweets in regards to the situation, the way Dove Kleiman reported this was absolutely gruesome at the time that Josh Rosen was being worked out by the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Browns are working out former first-round bust quarterback Josh Rosen, according to Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. Rosen was the 10th overall pick in the 2018 draft, the same one in which the Browns took Mayfield first overall. The team is also working out veteran AJ McCarron. I think this is really funny. Now you're seeing 3 of the 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10 of the 2018 NFL draft just completely being shifted around. The number 1 pick and the number 3 pick are both on the same team, and they're competing for the starting QB job on the Carolina Panthers. The only player of the top 10 that was a quarterback that is succeeding is Josh Allen, which is really funny because this man had the highest potential to be a draft bust out of all of them, and I'm sticking with that. I mean, if you remember Josh Allen as a prospect, he was incredibly raw, he was very inaccurate, he needed some help with his throwing motion, and in his first year under center, he literally looked like a running back under center. His development is phenomenal. I don't know if you're crediting Brian Dable for that, or just the fact that he really had a drive to succeed. And then you have Josh Rosen, who is now going to the team with the number 1 overall pick in said draft. Where is he even in the depth chart in this instance? They have Deshaun Watson, Jacoby Brissett, Josh Dobbs, and now Josh Rosen. Could you just imagine if Josh Rosen comes in and just absolutely crushes it in camp, beats Jacoby Brissett to be the number 2 QB under center, or Jacoby Brissett hopefully doesn't sustain an injury, but sustains an injury and something causes Josh Rosen to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns for the first 8 games of the season. Then Josh Rosen comes in and has a 7-1 record. Pretty much Tom Brady's exact same story with Drew Bledsoe. What do you do if you're the Cleveland Browns? That would be such a funny storyline. It's not going to happen, but it will still be a hysterical storyline. I don't know. I'm rooting for Josh Rosen. I really hope he succeeds. But at the same time, a part of me is like, what the hell are the Cleveland Browns doing at this point? I mean, if you need a quarterback to start for 8 games, are you leaning on Jacoby Brissett? Are you leaning on Josh Dobbs? Are you leaning on Josh Rosen? Because at this point, it's very late in the offseason. How long will it take for Josh Rosen to become acclimated to the offense? How much responsibility are you giving Josh Rosen? Are you just signing him just so he could be the third QB on the depth chart while Deshaun Watson's out, and then you cut him once Deshaun Watson comes back? I don't know. It's one of those situations where, you know, the Cleveland Browns make really good decisions at times. Like, for example, the trading of Amari Cooper, the signing of Kareem Hunt a couple of years ago, the signing of Jadeveon Clowney, the drafting of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. This was a little bit longer ago, but the drafting of Denzel Ward. And then there are times where I'm just looking at them and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.